Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crypto Sense Podcast. This is your boy Carlton CO2 Owens. We're back with another show. I am extremely excited, y'all. I mean, man, oh man, it's been a while since I've had Graeme back on the show, but he's back, y'all. So we're going to have fun today. We're going to talk about some new projects and things he has going on. But before we dive into today's show, let's first give it up to our sponsors. First, we have Crypto Elite. Crypto Elite is the A to Z resource when it comes to cryptocurrency trading. You get a chance to tie in directly with Lewis, who is a guru when it comes to teaching people from beginners all the way to being experts where they can create potentially six-figure incomes being able to trade cryptocurrency. Go over to his website, cryptoelite.com, use the coupon code CryptoSense and get 10% off, actually 15% off on your course. Also, if you join his VIP group, you'll get 50% off on your first month, okay? We also have BitZoom Trader. BitZoom Trader is for folks who are a little bit more busy, don't want to learn cryptocurrency trading, but understand the importance of cryptocurrency trading, so they use artificial intelligence to do so. Go to BitZoom Trader, set up the account. It's only $5 to start, and literally you just connect your Coinbase Pro account or whatever account you have, and artificial intelligence starts to help you make those trades for you if you're busy and you're on the go and you don't know exactly what to do with cryptocurrency trading yourself. So make sure you go over and do that. Also, we have Psalms Brittle. PsalmsBrittle.com is the best brittle candy you're ever going to eat. If you're like myself that loves brittle, man, oh man. And I know Graeme knows a thing or two about brittle too, being from Canada. If you love brittle, this version of brittle is amazing because it's light, airy, and crispy, and it doesn't stick to your teeth. Let me repeat it. It does not stick to your teeth. So make sure you go over to psalmsbrittle.com. Use the coupon code CryptoSense. Psalms is spelled PSALMS, Brittle, BRITTLE.com, and use CryptoSense 10. You're going to get 10% off on your first online purchase. Last but not least, y'all, is also us. We have to sponsor our own show as well. CryptoSense.com is a sponsor, and we have an ebook that shows you actually how to trade and invest in cryptocurrency tax-free. Go over to our website to learn more information. So that is it. All right. We paid some bills. Now we're going to get to the show. Graeme is here. What's up, Graeme?
Not much, Carlton. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. It's so good to see you. It's been a while. Last time I had you on the show, actually 2 days. Last time I had you on the show, we were giving some updates on Polymath. Also B is for Bitcoin. But just bring me up to speed on these new things that are going on, particularly when it comes to Polymesh. I know it's a new project that you all been doing.
For sure. So initially at Polymath, we were squarely focused on how can we enable actual financial securities to exist on blockchains. When technology first came out in terms of blockchains, it was create a token, anyone, anywhere, anytime can send anything, any amount to anyone, anywhere. That doesn't really work for financial securities where there's a ton of regulations. Maybe accredited investors are the only ones who are allowed to participate in a certain offering, maybe only investors from a certain jurisdiction. And so we were saying, okay, well, how can we enable those rules to actually live on chain so that we can have tokens represent ownership shares in stock, in bonds, in revenue share agreements, in equity that represents a commercial real estate building. And so what we had to build was all of that technical infrastructure. And when we started, we built it on top of Ethereum. That's where all the developers were. That's where all the tokens were getting created. It made the most sense. But as we started building more and more technology on top of Ethereum, and especially as we started talking to more and more regulated financial institutions, we started hearing the same problems they had over and over again with Ethereum, specifically as it relates to regulated financial assets. And we kept hearing about governance issues, identity issues, compliance issues, confidentiality, and settlement problems that they were having. And so we kept hearing these and we said, okay, we have a choice to make. We can either continue to build on Ethereum, hoping that this thing works out, or we can build our own blockchain with one use case in mind, which is regulated assets. And we went with option 2. We said, you know what, it's been great to have this kind of proof of concept on Ethereum at this point, but let's get serious. Let's build our own blockchain specifically for these regulated financial institutions to trade and create these regulated assets.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And I would imagine that making that pivot, because when you think of Ethereum, you think of, all the history there, both positive and negative. It was probably a little bit of a hard shift or a hard pivot to go ahead and just say, we're going to do it ourselves and just go ahead and just go hard on that. I mean, just talk to me about that process. I mean, was it was it challenging, to make that decision, to move?
It was for sure. But really, ultimately, what it came down to was what do the users want, and what are we able to build, and just the roadblocks that we had with Ethereum. The code base is constantly changing. Ethereum has the sort of Silicon Valley mentality of move fast and break things. That doesn't really work when you're talking to the largest banks in the entire world. They want to have stable infrastructure. They want to be sure that they can use things. They have to put things in front of regulators every single day. And so yeah, it was tough to make the decision, and there was a lot of thinking that went into it. And our developer team, researched for weeks. We even brought on Charles Hoskinson, the co-founder of Cardano, or maybe he's the founder of Cardano, I can't remember. We actually brought him on as an advisor to the project to figure out, what architecture should we go with, should we decide to build our own blockchain. And so he actually helped us out in terms of figuring out that we wanted to use the substrate framework to build our own blockchain instead of kind of building a blockchain all from scratch. But yeah, a ton of work went into it. A lot of kind of sleepless nights, especially for the developers and the engineers and all the researchers, and for Charles potentially figuring out, if we build a blockchain, how should we build it and what direction should we go. And so that was back in 2019, and I can't believe that's 3 years ago now at this point. But so 3 years ago, we decided to build our own blockchain. And then last year, so this was a few months ago, October of 2021 is when we went live with the mainnet launch.
That is phenomenal. Now, the interesting thing is that the solution that you all were able to build, I think, is probably a breath of fresh air, particularly on the banking side, because more and more as I see the blockchains developing and just the whole adoption of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, I often was asking myself, how do the banks have an opportunity to really play ball and to be able to get more involved and to feel comfortable with this new technology and how things will be able to progress in the future? It sounds like what you all been able to do is to really create a safe space for regulated assets to really thrive, and for the customers to be able to flow in and out of your platform. When you agree.
That's what we hope so. Yeah, that's what we hope so, is that they feel much more comfortable and much more confident engaging in the technology when they have these more specific guardrails in place. And so a couple of those guardrails, one on Polymesh, every single user must pass a KYC process. And it's a pretty basic KYC process, same as kind of opening a bank account or opening up an account on a crypto exchange, something like that. Show your passport, your driver's license, prove that you live in a certain jurisdiction. That alone gives banks a ton of comfort. And then on top of that, I think what really matters to the banks is that on Polymesh, all of the node operators, so it's a proof of stake blockchain, so all the validating nodes that are creating blocks, publishing blocks, and earning rewards, they're all regulated financial entities. So that's vastly different from every single other blockchain that exists. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tezos, Polkadot, take your pick. And so one of the questions that kept coming up, and one of the roadblocks for banks was, okay, well, let's say I make a trade, and let's say, I'll just pick two examples out of a hat. Let's say JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are going to make $100 million trade of a structured note. Okay, then they pay $10 in gas fees to a miner on Ethereum. Where does that gas fee go? Well, to someone somewhere. What if that miner operating that node that produces that block is in North Korea? Now, JP Morgan just sent $10 to North Korea. You can't do that. Okay. And so the fact that there's no concept of KYC whatsoever on all these other blockchains was a huge sticking point for a lot of them. And just, they just really couldn't play ball. They couldn't wrap their heads around their 1,000-person compliance team just could not give the green stamp saying, yes, this is good to go and we can use this. Another one that's really interesting that we think we've solved for pretty well on Polymesh with our settlement engine is ensuring that settlement can only occur when both parties affirm settlement instructions. And so to give an example of that, I'm not sure if you saw when Visa purchased a CryptoPunk. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so Visa bought a CryptoPunk. I think this was a few months ago, and they said to the world, "Hey, everyone, look how cool we are. We're Visa. We have CryptoPunk." Then I sent them some Poly tokens. Then a bunch of people sent them some NFTs with penises on them, and then a bunch of people sent them some other tokens. Now Visa has those assets on their balance sheet. They don't want those assets on their balance sheet. They don't want the 5 Poly tokens or whatever I sent them. They don't want the explicit photos of NFTs that are on their balance sheet. They don't want all the other assets. And so it's a fundamental problem with the architecture of Ethereum and these other public general purpose blockchains, where if I want to send you something, you have to receive it. Whereas on Polymesh, what we've done, because it's specifically for regulated assets and for these financial institutions to feel comfortable, both sender must affirm settlement instructions and receiver must affirm settlement instructions. And only at that point can a trade of assets take place. And so, very funny example, I guess, but that was one thing we kept hearing was, settlement doesn't work this way in the traditional financial ecosystem where just I can send anything to your account. But it has to when we're talking about things like stocks, bonds, revenue share agreements, etc.
Absolutely, man. That's phenomenal. I mean, it just seems like you all are just covering all the different problems, but you also sound like you're solving problems that haven't even. How can I say it? They're definitely problems, but the problems that people are not really thinking about. And so. Do you think in the future this type of structure, this type of system that you all created is something that can maybe be adopted even on more so on the consumer side of things?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're seeing a lot of interest in people who are going to be the ultimate investors in a lot of these assets. So initially, we think it does make sense where it's kind of bank to bank interacting. But ultimately, we've built an infrastructure where anybody can onboard, provided they meet the basic KYC requirements. And so I believe wholeheartedly that every single financial asset on Earth will be on a blockchain at some point in time. I can't predict whether that's 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, but it will happen. I'm pretty sure that at this point, the writing's on the wall. It is the infrastructure of choice for money at this point. And then it's going to be the infrastructure of choice for financial assets. And we're seeing that. We're seeing more interested parties want to onboard, whether that's banks, whether that's broker dealers, whether that's custodians, KYC providers, and then ultimately retail users as well. So a number of people have onboarded. I think we're around 2,000 users at this point who've onboarded, and now they're staking PolyX to earn rewards and help provide security to the chain. So absolutely, that's the direction that things need to be going to.
Absolutely. Well, definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to educate us and put us on with what you all are doing over at Polymesh. How can they find more information about your next plays and the things that you're doing in the future? I think we broke up a little bit, but hopefully you got that question.
Yeah, all good. So best place to go first would be probably polymesh.network. So POLYMESH.network. And then our Twitter account is definitely the most active in terms of social media for us. So we're at Polymesh Network on Twitter.
All right, fantastic. Well, there it is, y'all. Graeme is back in the building. We're going to get him back for another show. I promise you, we're not going to wait 2 years to do it. He's been busy, we've been busy, but we're going to get him back on the show. So give us some more updates, tell us some more record breaking and just history making that they're doing over there at Polymesh. And that is it for today's show. If you want to stay in tune with the podcast and what we're doing, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook as well. And until next time, holla back.